In this video, we're solving equations, exponential equations, and logarithmic equations. So first of all, we need to convert from logarithmic form to exponential form. And the way we can look at that is that this b is our base, so it will convert to here, and then x will come over to this side, so that will act as the exponent, and the a is actually, think of that, I guess, as the answer. It'll go to the other side over here. So what we want to be able to do is switch from one form to the other. So just the first example, switching from one form to the other. So we have log base 2 6 equals x. Just converting that to exponential form. 2 is our base. X will come over to the other side of the equation and be the exponent, and 6 will move to the other side. So here we're just switching the form. We're not solving anything. And then the second equation is just going the other direction. It's, let's just say, 10 to the second power equals 100. Then 10 is my base, so log base 10. The 2 goes to the other side of the equation, or equals, and the 100 moves to the other side and goes inside the logarithm. And one thing to remember is when you have, say, y equals the natural log of x, the natural log has a base. We just don't write it every time. It would be y equals log base e of x. And so if we want to switch this to exponential form, then the base is e. So just think of that as growing up. And then the y will switch over as the exponent, and the x will go to the other side of the equals. So let's solve this equation, get the x by itself. So first thing is we will go to my pen. Add 12 to both sides. And 19, and then divide by 8. We get e to the x equals 19 divided by 8, 2.375. Okay, now how do we get the x out of the exponent? We change the form. We make that log base e, and then the 2.3 comes over inside, and the x is there by itself. So again, another name for log base e is natural log. And we can just plug that into the calculator. And that is 0.865. So whenever you're solving an expression like e to the x, we'll call it an exponential function, you always want to get the e to the x part by itself first. And then you'll switch the form to logarithmic form. Now this example, same idea. We want to get the x by itself. So we'll take this bottom and we'll multiply both sides by the bottom. And so we will get 5,000 and then we'll write it as 2 parentheses, and then we can do this. You can distribute the 2, but we can just go ahead and divide out the 2. So that will give us 2500. 1 plus e to the 2x. Subtract 1 from both sides. 2499. And then here the e part is by itself. And then we switch it to logarithmic form. So log base e, and then the 2499 moves over, changes side of the equals, and then the 2x will come over here, and then we can divide both sides by by 2. So I'll just write this as the natural log of 2499 divided by 2, and we can punch that into the calculator. And that will be 3.912. Now we're changing to solving a logarithmic form, natural log. So you can, and it may be helpful to make the problem look like log base e, maybe parentheses 4x, and then you always want to get the logarithm by itself first, so it is by itself. So now we want to switch the form. It's in log form, so we'll take e is the base, and then the 1 comes over as the exponent, and 4x, and then divide by 4. And so e to the first power divided by 4, we can plug that into the calculator, and that will give us 0.68. So the key on these logarithmic and exponential functions, or solving those equations, is in e, you always want to get the e by itself first, then you switch the form. And for the logarithmic functions, you want to get the log by itself first, and then switch the form. Here is one other log equation. So the first thing is we'll subtract 3 from both sides. So we got 4 natural log x squared, and 6, divide the 4. We got natural log x squared, we'll call it 1.5. And then so now the natural log is by itself. So we'll change the form. The base is e. So again, if it's helpful, you can think of this as log e, base e. So e to the 1.5 power equals x squared. And we can do all this in the calculator, but then just get x by itself, you take the square root. And that should give us 2.18 for x.